What am I to do?
Welcome to He Said, She Said Razor Branding Podcast with Michael Russo and Jaci Russo. To learn more about how to improve your brand, visit brandRUSSO.com.
Welcome to the podcast. Michael, today I am very excited about our conversation with Andrew from Creekside Homes. It is refreshing to me when there is an owner, a president, a CEO, a founder who is directly involved in the day-to-day of their marketing and aligning the teams and really active. You know, they're doing lots of different things over there on the West Coast to help get the word out. And I think they're doing a great job. And it was fun to have a conversation to dissect all those different things that they're doing.
Absolutely. I think there was one point though, you nearly jumped out of your seat. I leaned in too, because he said, I believe in marketing, but I don't believe in wasting my time on branding. And I'm like, and then he started explaining it. And then you very eloquently came back and explained how he's actually doing that. And he's doing it very well. He understands his audience. He understands how to speak to them. He understands who he is and what he's providing. I'm like, that's what branding is. He was referring to more mass media marketing, which he's right. I mean, that would be silly for him to waste money on that. But no, the branding is the thing that saves you that kind of money because you're taking the time to be more targeted and more specific with your audiences and who you are and what you're trying to say to them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think it's a great episode and I think y'all are going to enjoy it. So let us stop talking and let's get Andrew out here. Andrew, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you making time. And I'm excited to talk about Creekside Home Builders and what you're doing for your marketing. And obviously, because I made the mistake of looking at the wrong one at some point in my research, let's start with what are the challenges around having a name like Creekside when there are other locations across the country that have the same name? Has that been an issue for you at some point?
Occasionally, we do get people reaching out, wanting to build a home with us, and then it turns out they're actually in Tennessee or something, which is the other coast.
So. Yeah, exactly. Or Texas or Tennessee. Yeah. In South Carolina. I saw one in South Carolina. So, that's one of the things we talk to people a lot when they are starting a company or growing a company is naming. And naming is hard. Michael can testify to this because when we start doing the research, every domain name is taken.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It can be definitely difficult. There's also another company nearby that has put a little shade just because they've had some issues on their sites, and then we get phone calls, and they're actually across the river in Washington, but they've occasionally come over into Oregon and done some work, and then people see the signs and they look it up on Google and they find our phone number because we rank for this area, and so yeah.
Yeah, the world's gotten a lot smaller. It's just tougher nowadays. I mean, used to be able to kind of guess a little bit, but nowadays, a quick search and you can start seeing things pop up. It's just hard to hide, and you're like, well, look, I'm in my geographic area, but then there's somebody across the country that may, throw stones at you, or you're swimming in the same pond with online, viability. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's talk a little bit about kind of the way you've structured your marketing. Do you find it to be primarily proactive, like you're doing a strategic plan, you're building out a marketing plan for the year, or is it like most people and it's kind of reactive, like, oh, wait, we're a little slow right now, we got to do some social media? Where do you fall on those kinds of opposite ends of the spectrum?
For the past 5 years, I think we've been pretty diligent about us building a plan and trying to follow it and really go after a strategic marketing plan.
Good. That's good. Do you handle all that in-house or do you work with an outside agency? What's your resource team look like?
We have done a mixture of both, and we've gone through a handful of agencies and dealt with the promises and the results and just how that whole cycle goes. So currently we have a team we have someone that's managing like the website and kind of the SEO side of things, and or, data management, funnel management, that side of side of things, and then we have someone that's specifically doing, outreach campaigns as well. So
Right. Right. That's awesome. What's the challenge to kind of keep all those pieces working together? Because, consistency is so important. And when you have multiple chefs in the kitchen, how do you end up with the recipe turning out right?
yeah, it can be difficult. So I guess I end up wearing the hat of the CMO, so to speak, and
Right.
doing that to try to make sure that everybody involved is getting the same messaging and kind of defining roles to keep everybody in the right lane.
Right. That's good.
What,
I think
just pause a little bit. Give us a little bit. What kind of homes do you build, Andrew?
The best kind of homes.
Awesome answer. Awesome answer.
Mostly design build custom homes. So our most typical situation is somebody's got an acre or two of land and they want to know what they can do with it, and they have some ideas and some dreams, and we come in and design a solution with them and build something unique to them.
Hmm.
Um, so that's the I would say that's the biggest thing we market and the biggest thing that we do. We have over the last few years been definitely getting a bigger uptick with opportunities to do developments and with investors coming to us that want to invest in real estate and be involved in the market and all that. And so we provide that same sort of service, basically designing and building a solution that suits their goals as an investor, right? And they either end up owning the project and renting, or they may even sell it down the road as well. So
And what's the general price point of the homes you build?
the custom homes are usually somewhere around 1.5 to 2 million.
Is that like in the areas you're building, is that an average? I don't know, it's West Coast, or is that the upper end of things?
or lower end of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of, I would say that's mid to upper end. Um, I you certainly in this area there's a lot of homes in, starter homes would definitely be like the 400 or 500 range. So there's a lot of space below that average where you could buy a home around here. But I would say for a custom home, that's probably fairly average. It's kind of you could probably you could build a custom home for like around 1 million, plus or minus, for something small and modest, but um, you're gonna get up there in that mid range pretty quick.
Right.
And based on that, like obviously you've been doing this long enough, you know what kind of people you're looking for to work with. What would you say is your ideal client? As far as stage of life, income, personality, like who fits best with you guys?
It seems like our target is really people that are either owning a company or in some sort of a executive suite of a company, um, or someone on the higher end of like a professional career. A lot of the people that we deal with are somewhere around the like the Gen X to Boomer age range. Um, and it's really common for people like that to be in a position where they've acquired a great piece of property and now they want to design something great for it. It's really common that they'll have an aging parent they want to be able to provide for either immediately or in the future. And so it's really common that we're designing homes that have also kind of a ADU suite type of setup so that mom can age in place gracefully and nearby. So that seems to be the general demographic that we talk to the most.
And how are you? I mean, do you find that they're coming to you? I mean, you're established, so they're finding you through reputation, referrals, that kind of thing. Obviously, there's marketing things going on as well that drive those incoming leads. But where do you get most of your, interest coming from right now?
I would say the largest sources of leads and prospects ends up being either referrals, whether it's client referrals or centers of influence referrals like realtors or architects, um, or the other channel would be through like home shows and
Mhm.
being kind of out in a place where people who are doing shopping can find us.
Yeah, I would think like a lot of times marketing in general, even in that situation, because everybody's shoppers nowadays. They do their own research, they dig around, and so you want to have a good presence online. You want to be found and represent when you're not there to kind of speak for yourself. I guess that's the
Yeah.
question. I don't know. I guess.
Yeah, well, you do, and certainly, having we do our best to have as good of marketing content on the internet and on both our website, our social media profiles, and all of that, so that we can, keep a cohesive representation out there. And then we do things like meeting with realtors or architects to educate them on the services we provide as well, and show them the technology we're using and the ways that we can be an asset to them and their clients.
Yeah. By the way, I've totally gone rogue. Jackie's probably freaking out because I've
Well, I'm trying
thrown
to
her
follow
questions into
along
the
in my
wind.
questions because I'm trying to make sure I don't go back and ask the same question again. But you have taken us in some directions I wasn't listed, so it's all good. Carry on.
No, I'm good. You can take the wheel back.
Well, I think, y'all were started talking about custom home builders and prices and things. And so I have a marketing question around that. I think there's always this perception that custom means really expensive. And so you just named some price ranges that are very reasonable for your market. They're not super high end. They're just above starter. So they're fairly reasonable for your market standards. But do you feel like you're trying to push this kind of education where you're trying to help educate people on what to expect, what the costs are? They walk in with one perception and then they're surprised by the other. How do you handle that from a marketing standpoint?
More often than not, we get people walking in thinking it's less than it actually is. I wouldn't say that we surprise people that we're hoping or expecting to pay more money, and they find out that it's actually much more affordable.
Right.
Uh, that's just the nature of inflation and the way the market has been. I mean, we documented in our pricing from 2019 to 2021 a 250% increase in the cost of building the same floor plan. So um, that was really hard, obviously, to swallow. And of course, it was brutal going through that time period and then having to like honor a quote or whatever. It was like there just wasn't any of that going on, right? You were just uh, gonna have to start over with that. So
Yep.
um,
Do you
yeah.
find that you're also fighting false perceptions? Maybe because the industry, I only say that because we went through a remodel project about 2 years ago, and then we remodeled our offices recently, and it was just, and it was a good experience in the end, but, dealing with delays and contractors and knowing that we're always kind of on the back burner of something, and it can be frustrating. And I think a lot of people who have been through down that road go into it with like, all right, I'm already ready for a fight kind of thing. Do you have to fight those perceptions going in, or how do you kind of set the tone for the relationship moving forward?
Well, speaking of perceptions, how did you know you were back burner?
Well, Jackie, how would you know that?
I didn't describe us as being backburnered. What made you
Maybe
think
that's the
that?
wrong term. Well, waiting on things, or like, okay, like the painters just didn't show up that day because they were on another job. We were told that, like, okay, well, the crew's doing something else today. They can't come do this or that kind of thing. And this was like we were way, way, way over schedule. That was months past where we should have been, I think. At least that's the way it felt. Am I wrong, Jack?
I mean, it did take longer than we originally planned, but we also, there was some scope creep on the job where we added more things, as you recall. We found new problems to fix. And, I don't know that we need to hash out our remodel in the middle of this discussion with his custom home building.
It was a great experience. I'm just saying, it's kind of like, I don't know. I hear more people complain about the process than loving the process of building. Of like, oh my God, it took, because I think people have false expectations. They expect it to be certain ways. They don't understand that, there's a bunch of moving parts. You have different crews, you have different time schedules, all those different things. At least what I think. I mean, am I wrong?
I would agree that there is a percentage of the population that has that perception. I've kind of studied that a bit, and I think that it tends to be a personality thing. I think that some people are uh there for whatever reason. I don't know that I want to go too deep on the psychographic description here, but there are some people who are going to be predisposed to having a poor experience. And I wish I could explain that better, but I can tell you things like we've had customers come to us and tell us about other bad experiences with other builders, and then look forward to working with us and everything's going to be different. And then for some reason, their job did not go well. And, it's like, well, we've been doing a good job on all these other jobs and things. These guys are all happy. And somehow we didn't satisfy these people. And I think that that's the part that slows me down a little bit and just makes me think that, you know, some people have a harder time in life than others. Like some people just have less than satisfactory outcomes more commonly than others. I don't know.
I think
I think
that's
that's fair.
fair.
Yeah.
I think so. Well, and I think it's also about making sure that you have to do the right things the right way to get the right result. And not everybody's going to have that level of attention to detail that you do and have those same um, excellent quality projects that you do. So, it's to Michael's point, sometimes if you're hiring a remodeler and they're trying to scrape things together, you may actually be backburnered. It's just kind of the way it works sometimes. But I want to switch. I'll switch over to marketing again, though. Get us
Well,
back on topic.
but on that though, before we leave it though, because I think also when you think about consumer, they're probably not everybody drops 100, 300, 500, $1 million on a home every day. It's a big investment, and I think a lot of people don't do it a lot, so it's scary, and they go into it with and intrepidation on it to begin with. So they're out of control. They can't control the process. They can't control the timeline. They've turned it over to somebody else, a contractor, to drive the train for them, and they're just sitting back watching. And this is their, like you said, their dream, right? So they're pouring everything into this process, and I'm sure there's a lot of anxiety that comes with it too. And when they're making that decision to choose a home builder, I'm sure they're taking all that into consideration too. Do I trust this person? Are they going to deliver on what they say? Am I going to be taken care of? Although all those things probably come into mind too, I would think.
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, I will tell you that at one point we went so deep into this that we actually started interviewing people to try to understand their personality profile and are they a good fit for the home building process. The result that I kind of took away from that is that would just cut too many people out of the process. So then we flipped to working on our process. And so we've just kind of nerded out on doing our best to communicate and put enough structure and organization into how we work with people and how we try to make a project go as much as they will cooperate with us. And I will tell you, since we've done that over the last several years, the majority of the people who had a less than stellar experience are the same people who absolutely refused to get on the phone during our weekly conference calls with us and said, it's okay, I'll see you when you come out next. Or refused to log into the system and see the updates we were providing them where they had pictures and descriptions and details, right? Like all the things that we've instituted to make them have a great experience. If they refuse to cooperate, then, you know, they don't have the same outcome that others do.
Right. Right. No, and that makes perfect sense. Um, okay, I'm going to get into some specifics around marketing that you've done. So when you and I kind of talked before the podcast, you talked about some specific things that you've done, like with a performance-based ad partner, with a this land has potential QR code campaign. Will you speak to some of those campaigns? What went well for you? Where your challenges were? Because I think that's what helps the people who are listening to this understand and give them ideas of some things they could be doing.
Yeah, one idea we had was that land campaign because we realized that our ideal clients are purchasing land that is, optimum for building. Maybe it's on a lake or it's on a mountain with a view or something. And so we've tried to identify those pieces of property, and then um, we've done things like we've put a sign on the property with no name or, contact info, that just with a simple provocative statement that would make them want to know why this is here and who would have put it here, and then a big QR code. And so, of course, by forcing them to scan the QR code, it it helps us to track the effectiveness of the campaign, and then takes them straight to a landing page where we introduce ourselves and obviously make our pitch for how we can help them. Um, that campaign has been interesting. I don't have all the data back on it yet. We definitely get scans and we definitely get engagement. We've had one or two people say, "Don't put a sign on my property," and we say, "Sorry, we'll take it off." It hasn't really been, nothing too bad. And we've had a couple good leads come off of it. So that's one campaign that we did.
Nice. So Michael, when I think about, the challenges that they've had with some things working and some things not working, and obviously that lines up with everybody's experience in marketing right now. What are some things that you think might help make it more successful next time?
You're asking me?
Yeah, I was asking
Oh,
you.
I'm sorry.
You
Okay.
could give Andrew a suggestion of how to, like, what would make that go better. Because I'm thinking around messaging. You know, some people might scan it because they'd be interested, but I wonder if a stronger kind of branding based message would make them more inclined to scan it. And then wherever the scan goes, that landing page, making a more emotionally connective message there, and then pulling them into a funnel where there's repeat connections with them, just ways to expand that outreach.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, my gut instinct tells me that again, a lot of people are go into the process kind of nervine about it, or nervous about it, or intimidated. They're doing their research now and they're looking at other things. So they're looking for that welcome, that vibe that makes them feel good. And so, I don't know if you on your landing pages, if you have video there of like you welcoming them, that kind of thing, I think that's a great way to start, if you're doing that thing, I think that's super. But I think any way that you can exude a personality, to somebody, they're more receptive to that phone call, or they're more receptive to make that phone call, and to reach out. I think that's always the best way.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, because again, I know for me, I mean, we've bought two houses since we've been married. We've remodeled twice, and I am not the biggest planner, but it's like you're nervous the whole time, because it's a lot of money, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of investment in something. And I think just for most people, it's just not an everyday thing. You don't build a house every day, and if you get the chance to, then you're probably like, okay, this is the house, right? So I'm putting all my eggs in this basket. So if you can really, even if you have the funds for it, I mean, it's just a lot of money. And you don't want to do it again, and you don't want to get in there and realize you forgot to do something, or oh, well, this isn't really what I wanted, or, this didn't go the way I thought it would, whatever that might be. And so again, I think any time that you can convey your brand personality, who you are, your method, I don't know, I'm sure you have some kind of process. I don't know what you let people know, like, okay, when you're building with us, you're getting this. And these are kind of our trademarks or things that we're known for. But I think anytime you can convey those things, I think you're on the right track too.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because to Michael's point, it really does start with, building that brand, which is that emotional connection. Everything else we're talking about are tactics. And so when we can start with that emotional connection, I think that people feel more connected to what you're doing. Okay. So next kind of section I wanted to dive into is how do you balance short-term lead generation tactics with longer-term brand building? Kind of follows the same flow of what we've been talking about. Because in your industry, you have such long sales cycle, I would imagine. So how do you create new opportunities that are going to move a little quicker while filling your own funnel with longer opportunities to make sure you have a steady flow of business? What's your process for that, or do you have one?
Well, we do have a automatic kind of we have like a funnel system with in our CRM system, right? So we have a way to continue automatic nurturing with people and stay in front of them.
Nice.
So I think that's been the biggest way to hang on to people through that deliberation phase. Or, yeah, you're right. A lot of times they gotta graduate from something or retire from something or whatever. There's kind of this thing we can't overcome that they've got to get through before they're ready to move forward. So
Right.
it's important to be able to stay respectfully in touch long term, So.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Are there specific tactics that you've noticed over time that work better for you than others, or is it a constant evolution of what's going to work today and no guarantee it's going to work tomorrow? Like, I know a lot of builders still go to home shows or do magazine ads. What are those kind of tactics? How have they worked for you?
Oh, I would say home shows have worked well, and I would say magazine ads have not been trackable. We have put QR codes in the ads,
Hmm.
uh, and still haven't been able to track any results
Right.
from it. Um, so unfortunately, as much as it's used, print media seems to be only useful to maybe reinforce brand awareness or something, whatever
Right.
that's worth. I don't know what that does to your bottom line. Um, so
Do you find that you're not only selling your services as a home builder, but you're selling the idea of building a custom home? Like, are people coming to you and they're still kind of, do I buy something that's already done, or do I buy something that I want to build myself? I mean, you have to sell both to people.
sometimes, yeah, sometimes they're considering remodeling versus building. Sometimes they're considering buying something existing and remodeling it, versus going and building new. So we have a whole value way we can sit down with them and walk them through what makes sense for them.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I think that's what you have to do. Back to your QR codes and tracking magazines. Have you done any work with UTMs?
Yes.
Okay. Has that helped in any of the trackability?
Uh, when we've used that with print media, it does help because I mean, you're certainly able to track where each code is coming from, or where each visit is coming from, which code. But we haven't done a lot of print media, and so my point with that was just that even though it gets some eyeballs, it doesn't mean that they turn into prospects.
Right.
And so, um, yeah, we can track them. We can know that we got 50,000 eyeballs, but then none of them move forward. So then you're just wondering, like, who's the audience? It must be the people that are reading these are industry people who just want to stay up to date or something, right? And so who are you talking to? And that's the problem with that kind of marketing, in my opinion.
I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong at all. I think that's some of the biggest challenges. And I think that's some of the frustration because people, you know, accounting, there's the same practices everywhere. P&Ls are judged the same way. QuickBooks works the same way. Um, Taxes. You may have a tax attorney or a tax advisor who is a little more aggressive or a little more cautious. But at the end of the day, taxes are taxes. Your lawyer, he went to law school, he studied law, he was taught the same things. Again, you may have one that pushes the envelope a little bit and one who's more conservative, but at the end of the day, everybody's following the same thing. But marketing, and this is a bit of a soapbox for our listeners who've heard me say this before, just buckle up. Marketing is different. Marketing is the only professional service out there that doesn't require education, doesn't require any kind of testing, doesn't require any type of ongoing certifications. Anybody can call themselves a marketer. And so you and I talked previously about how you've been through a lot of different marketing people and companies, and they haven't delivered up to a certain level. There's no standard. And so I attribute that with part of the challenges because any of the other things, attorney, accountant, hairdresser, nail technician, every other professional service has this list of requirements and expectations and rules to follow. We can't even use the same terminology in our industry. Everybody uses the words differently. And so I think that's part of the reason why you've had the frustrations you've had is there's no consistency and no standard of service.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it's because there's such a low barrier to entry, so many
Yes.
people flood into the market, and the good ones just get diluted, right?
Yep. That's exactly right. You nailed it. You nailed it. And so I think that's one of the reasons why we have these conversations, because if there's no central authority, we can at least learn from each other and figure out best things. So I know there's no silver bullet, but what's been the magic? What's been the thing that you're like, and I'm not asking you to give away trade secrets, but what do you feel like has helped you kind of, I mean, you've been doing this for a long time, you do it successfully. From a marketing perspective, what do you think has been your biggest ace in the hole?
Well, I think the biggest thing is to understand that direct marketing is the only way to market.
Okay.
Um, and so for small businesses, it just doesn't make sense to do branding and awareness type of marketing. It only makes sense to do marketing straight to the people who are your target audience, and don't
Interesting.
waste time with anything else unless you're getting right in front of the right person. As a small business owner, you just don't have the budget to send large amounts of money out the door, um, to canvas an area and get general awareness. And certainly as a home builder with something so niche, out of the couple million people that live within my driving distance, I'm going to work for, I have the potential to work for 150 of them in the next year.
Right.
That's not very many people. That's a very tiny percentage of the people that I'm going after. So why would I blast marketing all over the place? Um, I should just get in front of those 150 people.
I think that's a fair point, and I'd like to add some clarification. So you mentioned two different things. You mentioned branding, and then you mentioned mass marketing. And so, from our perspective, those are two different things. And so, I'll agree with you on the mass marketing is not the answer, because there's no you have a percentage, a small percentage of the total population that can one day be your customer. And so for you to do mass marketing, I don't think you would benefit from that. But the branding piece, to put a fine point on it, I think that when we talk about branding in its foundational way, so you've established who you're talking to, you really know your target audiences, you've broken them up into segments, because you're older target audience member who's maybe having that life transition, retiring, scaling back, that's one. The people who want to kind of build out the family compound, they're going to have the ADU in the back for the in-laws, or an aging parent, that's a different audience. And so you've got different audiences. Then you complete that strategic approach where you know what the message is for them, why you're the right choice for them, where the message should go, very targeted. And over time, you're establishing why Creekside is the right choice for them. And so that is how you solve their problem, how you provide something they need. To me, you're checking the boxes. That's good. So that's good branding.
Yeah, to
And
us, that is branding. I think you do it very
yeah,
well.
yeah, and I think you do that well. And I agree with you that mass marketing should not be your focus, because that's a chance just to waste a bunch of money. And I'll give you an example. I was working with a company in New Orleans, and they do remodels of historic properties. As you know, a very select target audience, and they are one of very few companies that do it because it's got to be done. I mean, it's a historic property; it's got to be done a certain way. There's a lot of things that go into it. And so they were approached by a very large local festival called Jazz Fest to be a sponsor. And so they said, "Hey, what do you think about the sponsorship?" And I said, "Well, what do you want me to think? Do you want to do the sponsorship because you want to see your name up on the stage, and you want the VIP access, and you want the passes and the bracelets and the cool VIP entrance and an air conditioned tent to hang out in and the fancy bathrooms? Because that's what you're buying. And so if that's what you want, rock on, have a great time. Let me know how the show is. If you're using this and you want to justify this investment because of marketing, then I would ask you to go ask the people who approached you, the organizers, these questions. You told me that I should do this because there's going to be 450,000 people at this event that have the chance to see my logo and my name. So confirm that number's correct. And then clarify of that 450,000. Now, the Jazz Fest organizers might not know this, but you will. Of the 450,000, how many of those are potential customers for you? How many of those currently own or will in the future own the specific type of historic home that you do restoration and remodel on? And they goes, oh, it's like 1%. I said, okay. So the amount they're asking you to pay, which was a pretty penny, I will tell you, divided by 1% of the total audience, does that make it a good investment? And they said, oh gosh, absolutely not. I'm like, well, then there's your answer. So if you're doing it because you want the VIP pass, that's one thing. But if you're doing it because you legitimately think that your logo is going to get you business, that's not branding. Well, logo's not branding.
Yeah, so that's a great. I love how you made that explanation because I completely agree with what you're saying. Like, just
Andrew, you're
get
so smart.
name. No, no. Just getting your name out there in general is not worth the cost to me. So
Agreed.
You have to know your audience. And you have to know what to say to them when you run into them, and know where they live and how you're going to reach out to them and how you're going to connect with them on that level. I do have a question. I'm not paying attention. I'm looking at your website on the side over here, and your houses are gorgeous, by the way.
thank you.
Beautiful. There's one in here, Jackie, that you would love. It's like made for you,
Really?
colors and everything. Yeah. It's, I don't know how to pronounce it. DESCHUTES, Deschutes.
Yes.
I have a question because I'm looking at it. It's gorgeous. I mean, it really is beautiful. There's two pictures though. Was it painted at some point? Because it looks
Was the
blue in
house
one
painted?
picture. Yeah, it looks brown in one picture and it looks blue in another picture.
Oh,
Is, is
okay.
that just lighting?
There, no, there is a computer render of it, um,
Okay,
and there's a photo of it.
gotcha.
And,
That
and
makes
so,
sense.
yeah, the initial render had one set of colors, and then they actually painted it a different color when we got the house finished.
Gotcha. And then they both look great. I was just like, is it two different houses? Like what happened? It was the before and afters. But yeah, no, it's absolutely gorgeous. Jackie, that's like a mud room when you walk in with these
Oh, I
things you
love
hang
that.
up. Yeah, I know,
I'm
it's
curious,
perfect.
is that the marketing question that you wanted to ask him about the colors of the rendering, or do you have a real
No,
marketing question?
but he also has, it's an open floor plan in the kitchen, and it's a fireplace that sees through into the living room. And then
I love those.
it has a
Andrew, I love that
library,
so
look,
much.
full wall library with a ladder, with a rolling ladder.
Wait, do you have us moving to Oregon in this
I
storm,
know
Michael? What's happening?
it's totally your house.
Okay, good to know. So in the remodel Michael was talking about, we have this 1940s St. Street's home. St. Street's is like one of the old residential neighborhoods in Lafayette, Louisiana, where we are. And so it was a 2-bedroom house originally. They all were 2 bed, 1 bath. Well, our house is now 4,000 square feet, 5 bedrooms, 4.5 baths. Like it's stupid. But we had 4 kids, and hopefully future kids to come. And so we did in this most recent remodel build a butler's pantry. We relocated our kitchen. We knocked down all the walls downstairs so everything's open, and it makes me happy every day.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was worth it.
Oh gosh, absolutely. Listen, don't pay attention to any of the complaining he did earlier. It was a challenging year. For a while, Andrew, we had no floors. At one point, we had no roof. It was hot in Louisiana in the summer. It was cold in Louisiana in the winter, but all worth it because I know some people will spend a lot of money on vacations or second homes or hunting leases or whatever. Every day that I walk into my house is a vacation. Every day that I walk into my house, I am happy to be there. Every time somebody comes over to visit or we have people over for dinner, I am prideful, but in a good way, as they go on and on about how impressed they are by it, especially the ones who saw it before, how much they love it. So no, worth every penny and every minute to get there, which is how
Absolutely.
people should feel about their house.
Absolutely. That's our big thing and we've tried to capture that mindset with like our tagline of dream, build, thrive, for instance,
Yes.
because it's like the end result here is should be every day you wake up, you are so fulfilled and so excited about where you live. You know right where whether it's your morning routine with coffee or tea or some, activity you do, workout whatever, you should be excited and energized because of the space you live in, not hating life because of the space you live in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I totally appreciate that. And I think that we're on the exact right track because to me, you do that. Your website does look how impressed Michael is with it. Some of the marketing tactics that you've done, the messaging you've done. And so then part of it is, finding the right people to help execute that and then consistently doing it. That's the hardest thing. People try something for 3 months. It's not working the way they thought it would. They abandon ship. It's a time thing. You've got to invest time, talent, treasure into building those impressions because the people you're reaching today, they're not building a house today. They're building a house in 6 months or a year or 2 years, and you've got to grow with them.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Michael has now sent me the link to your website because apparently we really are shopping for houses. What's happening right now, Michael?
I mean, I the more I look at it, like the upstairs kids' room, like it's really cool. 4-bedroom would have been perfect for us.
Oh, that is really nice, Andrew. I'm now looking at pictures of your homes as well. This is gorgeous.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Do you work with designers that come in and help finish things out? Do you have your own designers on staff? How does that work?
Yeah, we do. So we have an architect, Rick Potestio, out of Portland. He's an award-winning architect here, and he works with us quite a bit. And so handling a lot of the major design decisions. And then Leslie Minervini works with us as well on interior designs, and she's won a lot of awards, been featured in Lux magazine and different places for her designing as well. And having that close-knit team really makes the whole process a great result for everybody.
Yeah.
What would you call the style of homes that you build? Is there a certain West Coast thing that you call it, or is it, I mean, modern eclectic? I don't know what you would call it.
We have referred to a lot of the style you see as Northwest contemporary. And I suppose I may not be the one to define architectural styles, but I have certainly studied it a lot, and we definitely like a somewhat cleaned up, clean lines, fresh palette feel, to some traditional styles, and finding ways to keep the architectural sense as pure and refreshing as possible.
Like it.
I love it too. And look, I think you're doing a great job with your marketing, and I appreciate you taking the time to share what's worked for you and not worked, because I think that the people listening, this helps them figure out what they should try or the direction they should go in. You may have saved somebody some heartache and hassle because it didn't work out for you, and they've learned from that, or inspired them to try some new things. There's still plenty of people out there who don't even know what a QR code is. So, Andrew, thank you. We will add it into the show notes so people will know how to find you, how to find Creekside, and thanks for coming and sharing your thoughts with us.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
What am I to do when the day is through?